Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. Today I am doing some blocking. Now, blocking is a term for whatever fiber art you do. You might want to block something with heat/steam to make it sit better, right? To make the overall look of it better, neater, tidier. So blocking is something that you might associate with, for example, hat making in wool or your knitting projects or crochet projects. If you think about it, wool has a great memory. Other fibers don't, but wool does. If you think about like an old-fashioned hat shop or a period drama where you've seen someone making hats, they're pulling wool over the head blocks, like shaped like a head, pulling it and steaming it. And that's how they make the shape of, the crowns for hats out of wool, because the wool remembers. Wool has a great memory. So when you think about it, if you are making rug pieces that are 100% wool, we're dealing with the same fiber. Your wool has a great memory too. The thing about wool is when you block it, which means treat it with steam to give it a finished and final form, it will remember the shape that you give it, right? And you're trying to make it look a little bit tidier. So let's look at what it looks like to block something. I'm going to show you the corner of a piece that I'm working on that I just finished for the Magpie Times, and it's still a secret because the magazine's not out yet. So I'm going to show you part of it, and I'm blocking this piece. Can you tell? It's a large piece. I don't know if you can tell, but it is rather lumpy and uneven, lumpy bumpies. So I want to block it. And that's going to make the loops kind of mellow out and rest into each other and just sit better. Now, this is a large piece. It's probably, it's not as large as I thought, actually. It felt a lot larger while I was making it in 1 week. It's probably 3 feet long, maybe just under. It's a large piece for me. I have 2 pieces this big. Now, when I'm blocking, I need heat and moisture. So first thing is that you are only blocking your piece if, number 1, it's all wool. Number 2, however it ends, blocked, like nice, even loops, that is how you want it. What I mean is if you're more of a kind of bohemian style hooker and you've got lots of different fibers, lots of different heights of wool, right? There's some wild parts and there's some tame parts. You do not want to block your piece because blocking it is going to make everything pretty much the same height and flatten it. Right? So if one of the features of your work is you've got some wild stuff going on, you do not want to block it. So just remember that because wool has a great memory and it's going to stay like that. So if you're like, oh, this area was all tall grass or wild flowers and it looks really crazy because it was all 3-dimensional, that's going to be gone if you block it. So we're not blocking in those situations. This piece that I'm about to block is hooked all in number 8. Not that that part matters. 100% wool, that part does matter. And it's a little bit lumpy bumpy because it's such a large piece and I want it to sit flatter and to look more neat, right? So I'm okay with blocking it. Now, if you come down here to where we are, I might even bring you a little bit closer like this. So here we are at the surface. Now I have got a face cloth that is damp. It's a dirty old face cloth. I've dyed my hair with it like 20 times, right? Or at least bleached it, but it's discolored. It's clean, right? There's nothing on here that's going to dirty my piece. It's clean and it's damp, right? If I wring it out, it's not going to pee all over my piece. It's damp. It's not soaked. Now I'm going to put that over my piece, right? And I'm going to get my iron, which is on super blast high. And I'm just going to hit it with the iron for a very long time, right? I'm going to be here longer than this video is. I'm going to be careful because I see there's some lipstick stuff happening over there. So I'm going to keep that away. Didn't realize that was there. I think somebody's been playing with Mama's makeup upstairs, but that's okay, as long as it doesn't hit the white part of my piece. Now, I'm using heat, and I'm just kind of pressing as I go. This is a very warm occupation. It's going to make everything sit a lot nicer. And just so you know, I'm on a little card table I sit at when I watch TV, and I've got one of these silver sort of portable ironing board things there. And I'm just going to go bit by bit. All in all, it's probably going to take me a good half hour, 45 minutes to block this piece because I'm going to want to give it a lot of weight and a lot of time. It's not going to burn. This is serving as what's called a press cloth, right? So this is an in-between guy. It doesn't have to be a face cloth. It can be anything that can stand the high heat, right, that is not colored and going to bleed, and that can be a little bit damp, can be controllable, right? And I keep the iron moving. It's not like I keep it in one place and tempt fate. You know, I don't play with Murphy at all these days. So I keep it moving. And even without a press cloth, I could be ironing directly on my surface, but I don't really want to. Now, it's going to be hard to tell, but already, just in that short time, I have a really tidy corner, right? I'm just realizing I missed a few stitches there. Fantastic. But I have a really tidy corner. It's red hot to touch, but it's very, very thin. It's much thinner. It's a lot less bulky, and it's extremely uniform. I can just feel it. It feels perfect. Now, when your piece is blocked like this, you know, and as opposed to, for example, over here, I don't know if you could tell, but it gets all curly over here, right? It's you probably can't tell in the video, but it's curling up. And right here where I hit it with the heat, super, super flush, even, very tidy. When I do this, it does give my piece the look of something that is more like commercially done, right? Because it's perfect. That's the thing. It's perfect. So again, while I am blocking this piece because I want it to be perfect, I want it to be uniform, which is not usually something that I'm going for in my pieces. But in this particular piece, I want it to be all one height, all my loops. I want it to be perfect. And, you know, I want it to look really pristine. I just want to remind you one more time that if one of the features of your piece is that you got some wild and crazy going on, you do not want to block it, and you do not have to block it, right? This is only going to benefit a piece that is 100% wool. And with a piece this size, I feel I want it to sit really, really nice and even. And this is exactly what the blocking is going to do for it. And how long is the blocking going to last? Like my whole life, right? I'm in my 50s, my whole life. If I ever look at it and I go, oh, look at that thing getting all wonky again. How annoying is that? I'm going to take it down and press it again. But this is not something that you do like every 6 months, every year, or every decade, right? You do it when you finish the piece. How often do you have your hats, you know, re-steamed at hat makers? Probably not very often, right? Because wool has that good of a memory. So this is blocking. It's super easy. There's no skills needed here. Just make sure you are clean, you're ready to go, you're not too wet, you don't want to soak your piece. Make sure that you are ready for every part that you are hitting with steam to be quite flattened, quite finished and perfect looking, right? Again, more like a commercial rug. Can you hit some areas of your piece with blocking and not others? For example, if you're using, I don't know, metallic threads or synthetic threads or yarns in there, or some kind of t-shirt material that you're not sure is going to be able to withstand high heat like this, yeah, you can completely localize where you're hitting with the steam, with the iron, right? You can only do some parts. If you're too scared to do others because you're afraid you're going to kill the material, or it's going to, you know, char, right? Or burn, rubberize, something like that, because you've got a synthetic content. Even a little content is not going to do well with the iron. Having said that, you can block a lot of things with your press cloth. You can at least test something. Pretend that this whole blue leaf was like partially metallic or a t-shirt material and I wasn't sure of the content. I would be going like this and checking it every few seconds, making sure it wasn't burning or doing anything bad. I'm going to smell it too, right? If it's going to do something bad, I'm going to smell it. So you can test other fibers besides wool. You just do it 10 times more carefully than you do wool, because with wool, you know for sure. With other fibers, you might not know the content. You want to be really, really careful. But you can test it. You can localize it. You can press / block, which is the same thing, part of your composition and not the rest. That's absolutely done. That's easily done. It's going to be beautiful when it's finished. It really makes a big difference to the surface. And again, you only do it if you want to. You only do blocking if you think it's right for your project, if you think it's right for you. If you're a beginner and you feel like your loops are all higgledy-piggledy and you don't want them to be all different heights and a little crazy, and you're more of a technical person and you would prefer it if your loops were really obedient and very, very flush, then you want to block. If you're not that person and you think, hey, crazy is me, then don't block, right? And it can be different from project to project, and it can be different from one part of the project to the other part. Maybe you want to block the border and not the inside, something like that. You think about it. It's an option. It's not a requirement. It's an option, but it gives a nice finishing look, a nice polished look to pieces that technically are maybe a little bit on the messy side or have become lumpy bumpy because they're just so big and dense. Those pieces will benefit from a good blocking. Be careful, right? And I will see you next time at Ribbon Candy Hooking.